Hello, friends, and welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio. Today we're talking about if our progress out of the overwhelm is instant or gradual. And if right now you are working to get out of the overwhelm, I hope that today is encouraging for you. And I hope what you hear on the podcast gives you more hope and gives you a lift and helps you to recognize that every effort that you make to bring more clarity and peace to your life is going to impact the world. I want you to wake up excited and go to bed content. I want you to be mentally and physically happy. I want you to be financially stable. I want you to move forward on the projects that matter. I want you to have a strong family. I want you to feel like the world is a great place. And I know that you can make an impact with your experiences and your gifts and the love that you have for others. And I hope that I can be a support to you. So, okay, let's go ahead and let's just dive in. I recently received this very beautiful question from one of our steppers. STEP is our program, Steps to Everyday Productivity, where we help people to build a command central. It organizes all of the details of life into a very simple system so that you don't have piles of clutter in your head or in your office or in your home, and you can just feel calm. It's my passion to have a command central on every desk. But one of our steppers sent me this great question. She said, "Do you feel like you had a lot of years of struggle before you finally reached the state you are now, of less busy and stressed and mentally clear? Or was it a light bulb moment or choice? I have literally been at this for years, and I really don't know if I'm actually progressing or just digging my hole even bigger." Okay, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and so I just thought I'm going to put this together as a little podcast episode because I know that she's not the only one who has that question. And I look at other areas of my life right now where I wish I had a light bulb moment and just everything would just click and I'd figure it all out. And I'm not. I'm gradually learning other things. But I'm hopeful that the ideas I put together today will, just at least give you some perspective and help you to be able to see things, whereas this isn't just, a cut and dry answer. But I have several thoughts I put together. Okay, number one, if you are currently carrying a heavy workload and you're trying to make significant change in the middle of that, it's wise to give yourself as much grace as possible. We've talked before, and I've shared on this podcast, the whole concept of shoveling snow in the middle of a snowstorm. And if right now there are a lot of routines on your plate and habits you want or need to change, and maybe minimal support, if you can give yourself time to change, that's really a gift. Because rarely do I hear people come to me and say, I have all the time in the world. I have nothing to do. I have unlimited resources. I have total health and energy. I have no interruptions. And my life just feels open and there's nothing for me to do. How do I get out of the overwhelm? I never hear that because typically the people who are feeling overwhelmed have a ton going on. You're caring for other people. You're working in a career or running a business or doing a variety of tasks and things in your community. There are people who depend on you. You're taking care of your health. You're going to appointments. You're managing the mail. There's a lot of stuff that you're doing. So I just encourage you to give yourself a lot of grace. Even the things I'm working on right now, recognizing it's a learning process. I'm not learning everything right this second, but I'm giving myself grace. And that's one of the things that's been a big change for me recently is I am not as hard on myself as I used to be, which, anyway, I hope that you're not hard on yourself either. And I hope that you can see yourself for all the beauty that's inside you. Okay, number two, your efforts are laying a powerful foundation for future change. I first set up my command central in 2008. We had a young family with children ages 1 to 8, and I was desperate for mental relief from all the tasks swirling in my mind and cluttering up my planner pages. I had a planner. It was just totally cluttered, really long lists. When I read Getting Things Done and realized I could create a system that could hold all of the papers, ideas, projects, etc., I jumped in with both feet. I wore pajamas most of the week. I served cereal for dinner each night. I stayed up until 3 a.m. getting my emails to zero, and I worked steadily until every paper and task and idea was safely in my command central because I could see the vision and I didn't stop until it was complete. I was so excited. Like, oh my gosh, I can do it. And that's what I teach in our STEP program. Now, I guess you could call that a light bulb moment. However, I'd been using a Franklin planner since 1991. I'd attended all kinds of time management seminars and read dozens of books on the subject. I'd made routines and lists and checklists, and I had lots of experience with trial and error. I had studied decluttering. I'd worked with friends and family members to help them declutter their areas. And I had a deep why because the economy wasn't doing well and I wanted to contribute to our family's overall wellness and success. So even though I built my command central in a week and never looked back, I'd been thinking about and studying productivity and seriously failing, struggling for more than 15 years. All right, on to number 3. Sometimes the right idea is waiting for the right time. I read a book called How to Be CEO back in 2005. And I didn't let anyone know that I was reading it because at the time I was a stay-at-home mother without a business and I felt haughty for even thinking about being a CEO. It felt fancy and so different from my life taking care of little children, which I knew was vital and noble work. So it wasn't like, oh, a CEO is better than being a mom. But one of the concepts in that book is that every idea has its time. And that really stuck with me. So I took good notes and I wrote things down in my knowledge binder. And a decade later, I did become CEO of Learn, Do, Become. Now, Eric and I don't really use titles, but I call myself the Chief Encouragement Officer. So anyway, he and I we're partners working together. But yeah, CEO, here I am. I can do it now. Now, a few months ago, our 15-year-old son got a job at a restaurant down the street. He loves his job and he's doing so well there. And it has freed up an incredible amount of brain space for me because prior to him getting a job, I just felt like I needed to check in with him constantly to figure out what he was doing with his time. He's like, Mom, I love it when you say, are you using your time well? And it took more energy than he or I wanted. But now I'm finding it's so easy to get things done and read books and think through problems that I need to solve. I just didn't realize how much I had on my plate or how much pressure I was putting on myself to, monitor our son, protect him, oversee him. I wasn't being a helicopter mom, but just being aware and wanting to build relationships with him, wanting to spend time with him. Anyway, now that he's happily working, the ideas that I had before have found their right time. I have never been more engaged in creative work as I am right now. There's a lot going on behind the scenes, a lot I'm super excited about that's coming soon. But I just think it's really important to recognize that, sometimes that right idea is waiting for the right time. All right, number 4. We have the privilege of asking good questions. There's this quote by Stephen Covey that says, "To know and not to do is not to know." And I know it sounds a little harsh at first, but I like to think of it like this. If I am struggling to make a change or to achieve a goal, I simply have not yet learned all I need to know. And this feels really empowering to me. For example, I'm trying to figure out how to reach some goals that I set for myself at Learn, Do, Become. And sometimes I feel frustrated because I don't see myself getting closer to where I want to be. But then I take a step back and I ask, well, what else could I learn? Or who could I learn from? And then I start to see how what I thought was moving me toward the success I wanted wasn't necessarily the most optimal thing I could do. Now, to offer a productivity example, if you want your email inbox to live at 0, but it never happens, you could go into the Step Mastery Facebook group and explain what you've done and where you're stuck and ask for advice. Or if your morning routine never happens, you could post it in the group and explain why you aren't feeling successful with it. I have groups of business owners I engage with online, and if I'm really ready to change, I can articulate my situation and my questions as well as I can, and then I can post those to the group. Or actually yesterday, Grace and I, my daughter Grace, she's doing the videos for our YouTube channel. And we're in this YouTube group. And so they had a live call and you can submit questions. And, there's 30 people on this call and I got on the group and he said, okay, anyone have questions? Raise your hand. And so I was the, second person in line. I quickly hit the little hand raise thing on Zoom and I articulated my question. And I felt a little sheepish, or a little silly, a little vulnerable, oh man, people are going to see this question I have, or they're not going to like something I'm doing, or they're going to criticize me, or I don't know, whatever. You have all these little things in your head sometimes. But then I thought, no, I want to learn how to do this, so I'm going to ask the questions. Because if I don't ask the questions, then I'm always going to just be working on the information that I already have, which isn't going to get me very far. Especially when I'm, paying for coaching and I'm, joining these groups. I want to get the most out of it. So I really encourage you to recognize that you have the privilege of asking really good questions. Find the right people and then do it because you're going to get answers. And the answers that they gave me were really good. And so now we're able to apply what they've said. We've already started making some changes and it's awesome. And guess what? I'm not going to do everything just right. But when you can look at it with that growth mindset, it's pretty amazing. All right, number 5. Sometimes there's something deeper going on. Over the past several years, I've worked with a few cognitive behavioral therapists and read multiple books by authors who specialize in neuroscience. This literally fascinates me because I used to think that it was just a weakness or it was my fault if I couldn't overcome personal challenges. But now I understand that we often have hidden emotions or events in our past that we subconsciously or consciously categorize as trauma. And there are often really good reasons why we don't want to move forward. And sometimes it's because the identity we have to assume once the challenge is conquered doesn't feel comfortable for us, And sometimes we feel resentment toward a person, so we don't want to change and give that person the satisfaction of being right or being in charge of us. Or sometimes we have something bigger that we need to heal first so we can make room for the improvements we want in our lives. Those are just a few initial thoughts, but whenever I don't see change happening, I find it helpful to step back a bit and ask myself if perhaps there's some element of the situation that I'm not seeing clearly. We all want to experience quick changes because that phrase overnight success, it sounds amazing. Wake up in the morning and have 0 relationship challenges, 0 dirt in your house, 0 problems at work, and everything you could ever want sitting right on your front porch. I mean, it sounds so great, right? But that's not the point of all this. In fact, I heard about a biodome that they built in Arizona, and they created a tiny version of Earth in order to learn about how the planet's living systems actually work. And on the show notes page, I have a link to an article on medium.com that shows, tells a little more about it. But what was fascinating is that they planted these trees in the biodome, and when the trees reached a certain height, they just dropped dead. And the reason why is because they'd forgotten to put wind in this little biodome. So there was no wind to create the stress that enabled the trees to become strong. And that really has just stuck with me. I keep thinking, wow, that wind, how necessary is that? These trees are literally dropping dead because they didn't get strong. There was no reason to. The wind wasn't there. In a recent 2-way journal experience, and I'll just clarify real quick, I did a podcast about the 2-way journal. It's where I write to God and then God writes back. And if you believe in a different version of God than I believe in, you can do it however you want. But I've seen friends of mine who are atheists do this. It's really something anyone can do. So I just want to clarify because it's been so powerful. Like one of the most powerful things I've done. Okay, so in a recent 2-way journal experience, I asked God why it was so hard for me to reach some of my goals. And a portion of the beautiful response I received was this. I'm just going to read this paragraph. Your purpose is not to achieve every goal right now. You have a lifetime of service ahead of you. Your purpose is to pay attention each day to my spirit and move forward as appropriate on the promptings you feel and align yourself with me. I actually added a whole section of that journal entry to my daily reminders note that I have. So I read it every morning. And I don't know why this was so comforting to me, but just remembering that my purpose is not to achieve every goal right now, it just gives me such a good perspective every day, because I have this tendency to want everything now. I want the light bulb moment. I want the overnight success. I want like this vision in my head to just be created right now. It just feels so exciting. And it often feels so frustrating when I can see something and then it doesn't happen, right? But as I remember every day, I don't have to achieve every goal right now. I have a lifetime ahead of me I can serve, but I can pay attention to what I'm feeling and promptings, and I can focus on my alignment. That's something that I think of every day. I think the way I assess whether I'm successful or not, for me personally, is if I'm aligned with God. Because if I am, then it doesn't mean I went too slow. It means that I'm aligned, that I went the right speed. And then that feels really good. I really genuinely feel that growing and learning is a privilege. If you look back 5 years or even 1 year, you can see at least one area where you've transformed. And yes, the progress doesn't always happen as quickly as we'd like, but in my opinion, if we know we're onto something and if we feel good as we keep moving forward, it's worth the ups and downs and all the energy that's required. So, sending lots of love. I hope this is helpful for you today. Thank you for being with us at Learn, Do, Become. I'm so glad that you're here, and you can subscribe to the podcast. You can come to the website. Make sure that you're getting the email. I send an email every week. I personally write it, and I put little ideas and link to podcasts and try to give you a little encouragement. And you can even get your emails to 0 if you want them to 0. So when you get the email, you can read it and you can process it and you can do what you want with it, but it doesn't need to clutter your inbox either. Okay, I hope that if you feel like you've just been moving really gradually, that you can recognize that that's a beautiful thing. And if you do have some aha moments along the way and light bulb moments, I think that's really fun. It's not essential for change, but that can be fun too. Okay, thanks so much. Have a great day. We'll see you soon at learndobecome.com.